Welcome geometry students to class today on this Thursday the 14th. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're ready to learn some math today. Let's see here. Azu, I believe you told me you're the manager for the girls team, so congratulations to these young ladies for the first win of the season up at Temple Pal. And I know our guys did not do as well, but hopefully they'll continue to work hard and get better. Let's see what's going on here. Let's make some announcements for today. Actually, quite a few announcements, so please give me your attention. I feel like these are really important, okay? If they were not important, I would not put them up here. First of all, you need to turn in yesterday's homework. Yesterday's homework was page 313, numbers 4 through 33 all. Now, it was a Wednesday assignment, so you did not have to finish this assignment. You did not have to finish it, okay? Haley, I know you missed class yesterday because of the plan test, and of course that's obviously not your fault. But here's the good news, Haley. There's no homework tonight. Well, there's some copying homework, and I'm going to let you skip that. Hold on, my phone's ringing. Hold on one second. And Haley, I'm going to let you skip the copying assignment that I'm giving you guys today. I would rather have you work on this tonight. So Haley, if you'll work on this tonight and turn that in on Friday, you'll be all caught up, okay? Now the video you'll want to watch, Haley, to help you do this homework, and you might not need any help, but if you do, it would be Geometry 6.2 homework, okay? If you'll watch that, you'll be fine. Now, one quick thing, Haley, you need to know. That video right there that I just wrote on the screen for you, I made that video last year. And so you're going to hear things on there like, I don't know, there'll be a quiz tomorrow or a test tomorrow or something like today's Friday, so your homework's not due till Monday. Ignore all of that, okay? In fact, you can fast forward this video to the 4-minute 15-second mark, and you can start the video there. All that you're watching here, Haley, is just how to work these problems right here, nothing else. Please ignore everything else you hear on that video about assignments, quizzes, tests. Ignore it all. Just simply do the homework and let this video help you do the homework. And if you don't need help, Haley, then don't watch the video. Jasa got your email, and you know what? You're one of my notice I say one of my. I'm not going to get into having favorites, but you're one of my most responsible students I've had down through the years. And I know if you tell me, Mr. Earhart, I'm caught up in my homework, that's fine. I could not check Sycamore last night, and then today, if you look at my last announcement here, Jasa and students, I did not go to Brian. Oh, this is yesterday, sorry, because I'm making this video Wednesday, but you're listening to it Thursday. So I did not go to Brian yesterday on Wednesday because we had one vehicle in the shop getting the brakes looked at, and so my wife had to pick up my son. So I have not picked up assignments, but let me say this. If you say you're done with all your assignments and I check and I think you're missing one, I'll just give you credit for it and not worry about it. So as far as I'm concerned, you're all caught up. And your email told me you did take the quiz. That's totally fine. If you don't do well, I will not count it, and I'll let you know what the grade is. I'll email you the grade, and you can say, yes, I want it, or no, I don't. And then I think you were going to take test part 1 yesterday on Wednesday. If you didn't get to that, then please try to take it today, and or test part 2 today, or test part 2 tomorrow. But try to get both parts taken this week so I can pass out everybody's test and go over those. And then, Mr. Martin, you emailed me, and you're going to try to take your quiz before the week's over. I would really appreciate it if you would do that, okay? So please try to take your quiz by Friday, or I'm going to come to the school and talk to you. I'm just kidding, Martin. I'm joking. But please have your quiz taken by Friday, if at all possible. And if not, then shoot me off an email and let me know what's going on, okay? So a lot of announcements here. I love teaching y'all. Wish I could be there. It's just not possible this year with leaving my little kids here at the house by themselves. I cannot do that. So that's basically it. And I mentioned earlier there would not be any homework. There will be a copying assignment where you have to copy some things 3 times each, which I know you don't like that, but again, I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. I'm trying to teach you math. So, but other than that, there won't be any homework. So I am going to teach for a long time today, but I'm not going to teach tomorrow on Friday. On Friday, you're just going to have homework, okay? So let me reach over here and grab a quick drink of water. While I'm doing that, go ahead and get out your notebooks, your books, your pens, pencils, calculators, and let's get ready to get to work. Okay, here we go. Please remember, we have started a chapter on polygons, and that's chapter number 6. Right now, we are studying a certain type of polygon. It is called a parallelogram. Remember, students, I told you we would be spending the entire week on parallelograms, and that's what we've done so far. Yesterday, Wednesday, we did homework only. No notes yesterday, just homework to reinforce what we learned in class on Tuesday. Do you remember what we learned in class Tuesday? I wish I could be there to see who really remembers. But do you remember? We learned 5 characteristics of parallelograms. In other words, if I have a parallelogram, then these 5 things are true. And here they are. Now, hopefully by now you figured out I'm reviewing, so you don't need to write this down unless you want to. You should have all of this in your notes. Haley, when you missed class yesterday, you didn't miss any notes, okay? Now, you did miss a quiz, and I'm so glad I thought to mention that now. You did miss a quiz, and so you need to try to take that sometime before the week's over, and I apologize for not mentioning that back during the announcement times. That's my fault. But I would like you to try to take that quiz before the week's over. Mr. Harmon has that quiz, okay? But anyways, this is a review of what we learned Tuesday. We learned that both sets of opposite sides are parallel. We learned that both sets, and I'm going to fix that right now, both sets of opposite sides are congruent. We learned that both sets of opposite angles are congruent. We learned that consecutive angles are supplementary. And we lastly learned that both diagonals bisect each other. Now I'm going to do the best I can to not put you to sleep, although it might be too late for that already. I hope not. But I'm going to very quickly go over each of these. Both sets of opposite sides are parallel. That means this side and this side are parallel, and that means this side and this side are parallel. Both sets of opposite sides are congruent. That means if this side has a length of 4, this side has a length of 4. If this side has a length of 7, this side has a length of 7. Both sets of opposite angles are congruent. If this is 100 degrees, then this is 100 degrees. If this is 80 degrees, then this is 80 degrees. Consecutive angles are supplementary. That means you can pick any 2 angles that are side by side and they will add up to 180. These 2 add up to 180. These 2 are side by side. They add up to 180. These 2 are side by side. They add up to 180. And these 2 are side by side and they add up to 180. And then lastly, diagonals bisect each other. That does not mean that the diagonals are congruent. Let me quickly demonstrate that for you. Let me use an extreme situation to prove this to you. If I'm able to, maybe I'm not. Let's see if I'm able to do this. It's real important that you see this here. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Yeah, that's not going to work, I don't think. I'm going to draw a parallelogram that looks like this. It's really been stepped on. There's a parallelogram. Now look at these 2 diagonals. See this diagonal right here? Look how long it is. See this diagonal here? Look how short it is. Do you see that? Diagonals in a parallelogram do not necessarily equal each other. They are not congruent. What's congruent is this. When the two diagonals cross each other, this segment from here to here will be congruent to this segment from here to here. And this segment here will be congruent to this segment here. And that's what we mean when we say the diagonals, both diagonals, bisect each other. Now that's a nice review. Today we are going to do something kind of the opposite. We're going to learn 5 ways to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Period. So your heading today, please write this down, is proving a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Proving that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Lesson 6.3. I go fast, you'll probably have to pause the video. The date today is the 14th. If you'd like to keep track of that, feel free to do that. And just a couple of days ago, the date was what? 11, 12, 13. That was pretty interesting, wasn't it? Okay, the date today is 11, 14, 13. And let's continue on. These 5 ways are given in, should be in there, are given in your textbook in the form of theorems. Let me say that again. These 5 ways to prove that quadrilaterals are parallelograms are given in your textbook in the form of theorems. Listen to what I'm doing for you. I am going to show a little mercy and not make you memorize them this way as theorems. Instead, we are going to learn these 5 ways in a list format. Believe me, this will be a lot easier, so I'm trying to help you. Okay, so please take some really good notes. Here we go. Remember with triangles we learned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to prove that triangles are congruent: side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse, leg. Well, now we're going to learn 5 ways to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. All right, so here we go. Number 1. When a quadrilateral, that's not number 1, sorry. Write this down though. Write this down. When a quadrilateral has any of the following traits, any of them, just one of them. When a quadrilateral has any of the following traits, then it is a parallelogram, period, for sure. Number 1. When both sets of opposite sides are parallel. So if you were given a 4-sided figure, a quadrilateral, and I don't care if it looks weird like this one does, I don't care, it doesn't matter. If you know, according to them, in fact I like to give you some in the test that don't look like parallelograms, but they are based on the information, because I want you to tell me whether a quadrilateral is a parallelogram based on what you know, not what you see. So if I tell you this side here and this side here is parallel, and if I tell you these 2 sides here are parallel, you know right away you have a parallelogram. Oh, and by the way, as soon as you know that you have a parallelogram, that means all the character traits take place for a parallelogram. So as soon as you know that you have a parallelogram, then you know all those other things about the parallelogram also: opposite angles congruent, opposite sides congruent, etc., etc. Okay? All right, this is one way to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram when both sets, not just one set, okay, both sets, not just one set, both sets of opposite sides are parallel. Number 2, both sets of sides, and I should have put opposite sides. Again, I'm not sure what's wrong with my typing tonight. Maybe I'm just getting a little old or a little tired. Both sets of opposite sides are congruent. Both sets of opposite sides are congruent. So if you have a quadrilateral, I don't care if it looks like that. That doesn't look like a parallelogram to me. But if I tell you this has a length of 5, and this has a length of 5, and this has a length of 8, and this has a length of 8, I don't care what it looks like, you say yes, that's a parallelogram. Okay? So when both sets of opposite sides are congruent. You have a parallelogram. Number 3, when a quadrilateral has the following trait, it is a parallelogram. Both sets of opposite angles are congruent. Now it has to be both sets, okay? So I don't care what that quadrilateral looks like. It can look weird like that. No way is that a parallelogram. Remember, on a test or a quiz, I'll probably draw some of them really weird to test how much you know these facts, not what it looks like, okay? If I tell you now this is 90 degrees, and this is 90 degrees, do you know that you have a parallelogram? No, you do not. No, it says both sets of opposite angles are congruent. Both sets. That's just one set. You also have to know that this is, I'm going to change this from 90 to something else like 75. You have to know that this set of angles is also congruent. So if that says 105 and this says 105, now you know for sure that this is a parallelogram because both sets of opposite sides are congruent. I'm probably boring you to death, but I've got to make sure that you get this, okay? All right, the fourth way to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, well, when a quadrilateral has one angle supplementary to both of its consecutive angles, then we have a parallelogram. When one angle is supplementary to both of its consecutive angles, then we have a parallelogram. This one definitely justifies an explanation or a picture, so please look. If I told you this was 110 degrees and I told you this was 70 degrees, and you said to yourself, I got this. 110 plus 70 is 180. So I must have a parallelogram because these two consecutive angles add up to 180. Thus, those two angles are supplementary. And I would say to you, you're right. They're both supplementary, but that does not prove that you have a parallelogram. Please read this carefully. One angle is supplementary to both of its consecutive angles. So now let's take this a step further. Let's say I had 110 degrees written over here. Okay, now we're talking. Now I have one angle, and that's what it says, doesn't it? Read this carefully. One angle is what? Supplementary to both of its side-by-side angles or consecutive angles. So I have one angle, and I know it's supplementary to this angle, and I know it's supplementary to this angle. So now, yes, now I can definitely state that I have a parallelogram. But one angle must be supplementary to these two other angles. Okay, that is a must. Okay, moving on for number 5. When a quadrilateral has diagonals that bisect each other, then that quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Okay, so if I were to test you on a test and I gave you some weird looking shape like that and had diagonals drawn like this, and then I said this segment here is congruent to this segment here, and this segment here is congruent to this segment here, I don't care what that shape looked like, you would say, yes, it is a, let's try to draw the symbol for parallelogram. Yes, it is a parallelogram. Yes, definitely. How do I know that? Why do I know that? Because the diagonals bisect each other. This segment here must be congruent to this segment here, and it is. And this segment here must be congruent to this segment here, and it is. So these are the 5 ways to prove or to show that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Both sets, not just one set, both sets of opposite sides have to be parallel. Both sets, not just one set, both sets of sides are congruent. both sets, not just one, both sets of opposite angles are congruent. And then one angle is supplementary to not one, but to both of its side-by-side angles or its consecutive angles. And then the diagonals must bisect each other. Let me grab a quick drink of water here. And there we go. Diagonals must bisect each other. Okay, let's continue on now and try to throw some problems at you. I do want you to quickly try to sketch these. Some of these are in your book and some of them are not. Now, I'll tell you what, if you want to save yourself time writing these down, not all of these are in your book. Actually, I'm not sure. I made a lot of these up. So some I did and some I didn't. So I'm just going to go ahead and have you write these down. So is this quadrilateral a parallelogram? Well, let's see. Let's go through our list. Are both opposite sides parallel? Well, it doesn't say so. Are both opposite sides congruent? No. This side's congruent to this side, but those aren't opposite sides. Is this side congruent to this side? No. Are my opposite angles congruent? Not that I can see. Do I have one angle supplementary to both of its other side-by-side angles? Not that I can see. Do the diagonals bisect each other? Not that I can see. So is this quadrilateral a parallelogram? No. Maybe, but as far as I know, it's not. No, because I have no way of proving. None of the 5 ways that I learned right back here, none of those 5 ways are satisfied in this parallelogram. None of them. Not one. Okay, copy this in your notes. Is this quadrilateral a parallelogram? Well, let's go through all 5 of them. Does it show here that both opposite sides are parallel? No. Does it show that both sets of opposite sides are congruent? No. Does it show that both sets of opposite angles are congruent? Yes. Here's my first set, 40 and 40. Here's my other set of opposite angles, 140 and 140. So yes, I can definitely state that this quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Why? Because both sets opposite angles congruent. Both sets of opposite angles are congruent. Okay, is this quadrilateral a parallelogram? Now, if I'm going too fast, just pause the video. Well, let's see. Do I have marked here that both sets of opposite sides are parallel? No. Do I have marked here that both sets of opposite sides are congruent? Yes. This side has a length of 5 and this side has a length of 5. Thus, they are congruent. This side here has a length of 4 and this side over here has a length of 4. So thus, those 2 sides are congruent. So there we go. So, yes, I do know that this quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Why? Because both sets of opposite sides are congruent. So yes, definitely. Yep. Is this quadrilateral a parallelogram? Well, notice these 2 angles. If you add them together, you get 180. Please don't let that fool you, okay? Yes, you're right. Both of these angles are supplementary, but we have to know one more angle. If we're going to use I guess we'll call it, for lack of a better phrase, if we're going to use the supplementary reason, if you're going to use the supplementary reason to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, you better have how many angles? 3. If you don't have 3, don't use that reason. Don't do it. It's not going to work. Okay? So do I know for sure that this quadrilateral is a parallelogram? No, I do not. No. Because I don't have opposite sides marked parallel. I don't have opposite sides marked congruent. I don't have opposite angles marked congruent. I don't have one angle supplementary to this angle and this angle, and I don't have angles that are bisecting each other. Now, if I were to write this number right here and say, now do we know if it's a parallelogram? Well, you would definitely say yes. And you could use the supplementary reason because you have 3 angles, and notice when you add these 2 together, you get 180. And notice when you add these 2 angles together, you get 180. So yes, most definitely we have a parallelogram in that situation there. Is this a parallelogram? Well, notice I'm telling you, even though it doesn't look like it, this entire length AC, the whole diagonal, is 12. And notice BD, this entire diagonal is 12. Okay? Does that mean then that I necessarily have a parallelogram? Well, I'm going to choose my words carefully. Based on what we've learned today, no. This would not tell us that we know for sure that we have a parallelogram, because reason number 5 did not say your diagonals are congruent. That's not what it said. Reason number 5 in your note says the diagonals bisect each other, and that means this segment's congruent to this segment and this one's congruent to this one. Big difference, okay? So, do I know for sure this is a parallelogram based on what we've learned so far up to this point? No, I do not. No. However, look at this problem. Now here I'm telling you this segment has a length of 3 and this segment has a length of 3. Thus, I know this segment's congruent to this segment. I know this segment here has a length of 5 and this segment here has a length of 5. Thus, I know this segment here is congruent to this segment here. So do I know for sure that quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram? Yes, I do. And what's the reason? Well, very simply, the diagonals bisect each other. Okay? So that's how you know. I hope you've understood this today. I hope you're studying well and working hard. And I know I'm not going to get the most favorite popular teacher of the year award by making you do this, but this is due tomorrow, and so you need to work on it tonight and now in class. If the class is not over, get to work on this. I want you to write this 3 times. Now, if you want to write number 1 3 times and number 2 3 times, number 3 3 times, etc., that's fine. Or you can write this whole list once, then write the whole list again, then write the whole list again. I would recommend writing each number 3 times. It kind of drills this one point in your head when you write it 3 times, then write this one 3 times, then write this one 3 times, etc., etc. Now, Haley, if you want to do this assignment, you can, but you don't have to. Okay? What I do mandate that you do, Haley, is try to have that quiz taken by Friday, if at all possible. And you too, Martin, if there's a problem, let me know. And then also, this assignment right here, which is really sloppy, Haley, I know, and maybe you too, Martin. I'm not sure if you have this, but this assignment here was given yesterday. Haley, I know you weren't in class. I would like this done by tomorrow. And again, the video you can watch is Geometry 6.2 homework. Call me or email me. You guys have been great about doing that. Please don't stop. Call me or email me if you have any questions at all. Have a great rest of the day.